it's really entirely the board's duty to vet and make the decisions as to setting up the strategy that's in the best interest of the company. And so being clear about what our growth strategy is, are we looking to buy businesses, or are we looking to expand through greenfield, opening new locations, building new facilities, adding additional capital equipment, but also addressing the where. Are we staying within our existing footprint? Where are we going from a growth standpoint? Is it contiguous? Do we head to the coast? And then also size. What's the appropriate size of an acquisition or a growth strategy? From an acquisition standpoint, sometimes we might find that small transactions are easier to find, but if you're a relatively large enterprise, it might not be worth your time in integrating small businesses. So just being clear on what is your strategy with regards to size, and then also the condition of the business. Or do you want a business that is in a turnaround or distress scenario, or one that is lacking succession, or one that comes with a full management team, a new product, and expansion of your current line? This is really something to be clear about on the onset of an acquisition. It can be very difficult to find an acquisition target, but even when one is found, sometimes the more challenging issue is to really vet it to make sure that it's the acquisition for you. Does it meet your criteria? Does it meet the strategy? Or is it finally that one yes in a long list of no's? So if you do have a board that is comprised mostly of internal employees, this is something you still need to formally vet to hold each other accountable as board officers. If you have a group that is reporting to the CEO in which you oversee, it may be hard to be critical of an acquisition opportunity when it's brought before. Or as a seller, maybe if you're a former seller or shareholder on the board, you have to be very much committed to what is the strategy of the company, not just how is this going to play in your debt repayments. That is certainly of importance to consider, but also understanding, whose interest are we making the decision in when we're weighing strategy and future growth. So along that same line, board is also responsible for financing. Joseph's going to spend a few minutes here and talk about capital raising and really the preparation there. While you might have the finance team lead a large portion of this, ultimately it's the board of directors vetting really the opportunity and risk and the right financing that the board should be pursuing, and understanding the impacts on the business and potentially the trust as well in undertaking that. And then from an acquisition standpoint, as we're moving to acquisition, structure of the transaction, this is going to be advised by legal counsel, but the board ultimately sets the structure and may have additional requirements based on the structure of the transaction. So for instance, if it is a business, a true merger of businesses, or the sale of significant assets, the board might have a duty to include the shareholder or to pass the decision making on to the shareholder. So just knowing what the board's duties and responsibilities are under different structures of the transaction is important, as well as the notification of key customers and suppliers. Again, coming to the structuring of the transaction, that's the decision making of the board. The execution of that is likely to be taking place by someone else on the team. And last but not least is still the board has a duty to oversee the CEO as well as the compensation plans of the company. When we involve an acquisition, there's certainly opportunities for growth, which is the main reason for pursuit, but there's also the additional of risk and maybe the addition of new personnel. And so this can be a very sensitive topic depending on your board composition. So discussing ahead of time, what is the plan to address overseeing the CEO as well as the compensation plans is just a good practice to have an understanding and framework in place as board or executive team members so that when you get to that point, it's not as challenging or sensitive to address it for the first time. But it's important to think through, how does an acquisition affect these existing compensation plans? And being able to address that on the front end of a transaction rather than the back end, but also being able to be proactive if any new incentive plans are needed in that time.